Thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters and transmitting masters' mercy to have this opportunity to talk about this class. Yeah, the staff member class. So, we all want to. Well, we receive the Tao. That's of course very important. And then we go out and propagate the Tao. That's something we should do. But we it's not to say that you have to become a staff member to go to heaven or become become a Buddha or saint. Not necessarily, okay. But since we're doing, being a staff member can help us. Like when we come to the temple, as long as we're doing stuff, we're helping out, cleaning, we're doing the work here to help propagate the Tao or anything like that to be a benefit to others. You can say that's kind of a staff member. But it's not just kind of doing the various work. It's also having the proper concepts, having the proper attitude, the notions, right? So we have to understand the principles so that we don't do things blindly, okay? And we don't, people tell us, what we should do, but let's say, maybe even transmitters or lectures, they might talk about stuff and then they might maybe give you some instructions or guidance, but ultimately we have to use our own wisdom to realize, well, is that proper or is that right? Okay, so that we should follow it. So that's why we have to have this foundation, in these understanding some of these principles, so that we know we can follow, we can do the right thing. Okay, so because we might encounter situations where we may be given instructions that maybe are contrary to what it should be. But anyways, all right. So this class today topic is about cultivation and virtues of a staff member. All right. So what is a staff member, right? Staff member is a trained member who assists in universal propagation of Tao. Okay, so I say a trained member because we have to go through some kind of training. So it's not just, I just come to the temple every week and then I clean the floor and do various things. Ultimately, just like Transmitter Lin said, we make a vow to officially become a staff member. So making a vow and not making a vow, there's a difference, okay? So, and even though we may be doing the same thing, having that vow, we get also heaven's help, okay? The Buddhas will help us because you're making a vow, it's a promise. I mean, it's a real commitment as opposed to, today I feel like helping, the next day I don't feel like it, okay? So that's a big difference. All right, but anyways, we have to go through some training to learn some of the things that, especially the concepts and the principles that we have to follow. Okay, so holy teacher Jigong Buddha, he said, right, the scope of staff member is quite broad. It's not just coming to a Dharma class as a spectator, just coming to listen and watch. As long as you're performing holy matters, okay, holy matters are, you can say they're the matters of the temple, right, matters of helping the sentient beings, okay? Whether it's propagating Tao, so practicing the Tao, coming to the Dharma class, encouraging or helping the Taokin, right? Understanding their difficulties and looking after them, okay? So this is something, and that's what's called a staff member. So anytime we're doing all of these things to help others, to help propagate the Tao, that's considered a staff member. This is kind of broad. It's not just like coming in and doing specific tasks, okay? All right. Okay, so in terms of conducting matters, okay, or affairs, we want to be efficient and cautious. Okay, so do things wisely, efficiently, not wasteful of effort and resources. Okay, so obviously time is limited. Everyone's busy, right? We always try to, we encourage people to come to the temple, but they're always busy, right? And so it's like they're working or doing something. So obviously when we're here, or anytime we're performing any kind of staff member duties, then we should try to be as efficient as possible, get work done quickly, but Also, we don't want to cut corners. We do our best. Okay. Um, that's something to always keep in mind. I mean, this is very general. Uh, Now, public matters and private matters, okay, holy matters, mundane matters, okay, they all must be conducted properly, not done haphazardly, okay. So, so it doesn't matter whether, when we talk about public matters or holy matters, those are like for others, okay, doing it for the public, doing it for other sentient beings. It's not just for ourselves. Private matters for ourselves, and then the difference between holy and mundane again is kind of temple related, or just uh, it's similar, actually. And mundane is kind of everyday stuff outside that we do, okay? But regardless, we should always do things properly, do things not haphazardly, okay? So always try to do things proper and sincerely, okay? Yeah, in other words, do a wholehearted job. Don't do it, half-baked or whatever, okay? Responsibilities are heavy and the path of cultivation is long, right? Shoulder the mission without fear. Do not shirk one's responsibilities and mission. Yeah, the responsibilities, of course, our holy teachers, they carry this great mission. Well, they're executing this great mission, the universal salvation of the three realms. But because they're not here, right? The 18th patriarch and matriarch, they aren't here anymore. But they're obviously as Buddhas, they're still carrying out this mission, but they depend on us, okay, on people in this world, because you need people to propagate the Tao. So we're here all to try to help carry out this mission, and so it's very daunting task, okay. There's so many people out there that need help, that need to be saved, but we do our best. So again, a lot of it's based on our own affinities with people, karmic affinities, and also we can try to also establish new affinities with people. Okay, so we do good things. Just maybe we don't know these people, but we just smile or say some good words or do some good things, help them out in some way. Then gradually, at least that plants a seed. Okay, so for the future, perhaps that we can later connect, and they'll have that connection, that affinity, and that's actually how we're here today too, having that affinity from the past lives that maybe the Buddhas or someone had planted that seed before for us, and then finally the time is ripe for us to be able to receive the Tao and continue to cultivate. Okay, so but this is a very important mission, of course. It's only this time period that we have this mission, and we don't know how long it can last. All right, so you can say time is also of the essence. So we all have this duty as white era. So this is the white era that we're in. We're all considered like the angels of this white era, because we are heaven's helpers to carry out this universal salvation. Okay. All right. Okay, so as part of, these are actually, there's 4 immeasurable minds. Okay, this is, you can say this is like for a bodhisattva. Okay, so even though we're talking about staff members, we're not really talking about being bodhisattvas yet. But anytime if we have the right mindset and we want to do, to propagate the Tao, help all sentient beings, then we're really on the path to becoming bodhisattvas. Okay, so this is kind of the 4, you can say they're like the 4 big vows, I guess, or part of these aren't the vows, sorry. The mindset of a bodhisattva. Okay, so having a merciful mind, loving kindness, having empathy and compassion for others, and having joy or happiness for others, and giving charity, or also, by giving of ourselves, we can gain this equanimity, okay, within, okay, that tranquility, that calmness within, okay. So there are no boundaries, right? We are all one with all sentient beings. Okay, so we are merciful and empathize with all. We need all these qualities, okay? So all sentient beings, as Buddha says, that we are all equal. Our true nature, Buddha nature, is equal. We all have that, okay? So that's what makes us the same. I mean, there's really no difference or separation between you and me. That's all gone. Okay, so it's the Buddha nature. Really, you can say it's all one like body, one essence. Okay, so that's why all sentient beings, regardless race, nationality, even species. Okay, humans, animals, we all have that same true nature. Okay, so that's important. So that's why we try to help not just people, of course, and animals. Of course, we don't try to eat. We don't eat them to help them out. Okay. Okay. So again, yeah, keep this in mind. Mercy. Obviously, we have to be kind and loving to all. Again, compassion. These are all, you can say, they're boundless. They're unconditional. And always having joy or happiness for others. So when we see others, they're yeah, we can be happy for them when they've succeeded or they have something. I mean, we shouldn't be jealous, right? Should always be happy for others. And of course, the giving and charity is very important. When we can give of ourselves, give more of ourselves, it's really as well as the various sages and scriptures, they all say, giving is better than receiving, right? So when we give of ourselves, it's really, we're not giving up anything. We're gaining when we give. Okay, so because we're really giving to ourselves ultimately, because we're all one. We're all one. Okay, so there's no. It's not like I'm losing anything. All right. So okay. Okay, so learning, in terms of learning the Tao principles, right? We have to be willing and eager. And when we learn, we want to learn diligently. Okay, so we have to put in the effort. We have to be, have some interest and be eager to learn. Okay, so always, people ask, oh, how come? Why do you know all these things? How can you know how all these things? Well, I have to learn it myself, right? So we have to. Ideally, we don't, we don't. We should be self-learners, really, because no one wants to push anything on anyone. And so we have to be self-motivated to learn, to want to learn. That's the best way to succeed. Okay, even in society in general, that's the way you want to succeed. You can succeed. So here the same thing. We want to learn on our own as much as possible. Of course, we don't understand, we don't know. We seek guidance from the seniors, elders, but we shouldn't be too passive. When we're too passive, then they have to keep pushing us and asking us to do whatever, and so we need to try to motivate ourselves to improve of ourselves, okay, through our learning. So always ask questions if we don't understand. Unlike, the Tao, it's not dogma, okay. So the Tao in religious teachings tend to be dogma, okay. So you accept it as truth. In the Tao, although we're talking about the truth, the greatest obstacle to our understanding and to our ultimate enlightenment is having questions or doubts that go unanswered. Okay, so or unresolved. So therefore, if we have any type of question or doubt in our mind, we should definitely clear it up. We can ask those questions. All right, so that's very important. Ponder the knowledge and clearly distinguish or differentiate the principles. Okay, sincerely put the principles into practice in all matters. Okay, so we have to understand each of the concepts, the principles that we learn, know how to. Once we can truly understand it, then we can apply it. Right, the principles are like, it's kind of general. We need to be able to apply it to all situations. Okay. So that takes wisdom, of course. That takes wisdom. So it's not like, so that's why it's very hard to say, I can tell you these are all the guidelines, the specific instructions that this is how you cultivate, how you live your life. But that's very hard because there's so many different situations. So that's why we can only teach the general principles, and then once you understand it, then you kind of gradually you know how to apply it, no matter what the situation is. Okay. All right. Replenish ourselves with the Dharma, and study the scriptures. Okay, so learn more so that we make fewer mistakes and cause fewer problems. We will not get involved in matters that we shouldn't. Uh, Again, don't think that we know everything, right? We have to be humble, right? To learn, we want to always keep studying. There's so much to learn. Even we spend a lifetime, we probably won't learn it all. I mean, you just even look at the Buddhist scriptures. There's so many of them, right? But we don't necessarily have to go into that kind of detail in a lot of stuff. But from my personally speaking, I think that we grab the main principles, understand the main principles, and then that we can use those to guide us in life, and that's good. Okay, but there are a lot of like different rules, regulations in the temple, proprieties, things like that we need to learn. All right. Of course, when we learn these things, and then we hopefully we don't make some mistakes. When we do make mistakes, it's okay, just as long as we learn from those mistakes. We don't repeat those mistakes, okay? And then there are also, hopefully once we learn some of these principles that we don't get involved in things that we shouldn't. I guess there's a saying that when we get involved in or we put our nose into other people's business, that's hell. When we just take care of our own business, then that's heaven, right? So we don't want to get involved in, get to get into other people's, especially when we see other people, we say, they're doing it wrong, or they don't do it, at least not according to how I think it should be done. Then you create conflict too, that way. And so we should always look at ours. Of course, we can give advice and guidance and point things out, but we should definitely use anything, any example, anything that we see here to self-reflect, so that and then reflect on the principles that we understand, and then see how that fits in. All right. Okay.
On the last item, we have one feedback or opinion box there. So anybody have feedback to certain things, or you think something should be improved, you can put an opinion and feedback in the boxes.
Yeah, right. There's you can do anonymously. You can just write a note, say, give any kind of feedback about the classes or about things, in the temple, how things are done or whatever. You can, give us feedback. I think, that's very good, because usually maybe people don't realize, that they can do that, or they're afraid to to speak up, say something, because they think that this is how the way things are done. But yeah, definitely, we encourage and welcome, any kind of feedback to help us improve. Okay. All right. So this, I mentioned earlier that these are actually the 4 great vows of Bodhisattva. So this is something that we can keep in mind, that what we want to try to achieve. So the Bodhisattvas, right? The first vow is to vow to ferry the countless sentient beings. Okay, so obviously there's so many sentient beings that. There's, the Bodhisattva will never end, will not stop until all sentient beings are ferried, or basically have awakened, and it can be returned to heaven. Okay, so also second one, to vow to cut off the endless worries. Yeah, there's so many, of course, worries, especially from all sentient beings, all the worries, vexations, etc., to try to end all that. Not, of course, in ourselves, and also to help others to end those worries. Learn the boundless way to become a Buddha. Of course, there's, we all, I hope, aspire to achieve Buddhahood someday. whether it's in this lifetime or future lifetimes. But that is the path that we're on, that we want to take that path. Okay, so it's a very lofty goal, but it's a very noble goal. And as a Buddha, of course, or even a Bodhisattva, we can do a lot more to help sentient beings. So we're, right now we're very limited, of course, in what we can do. But but realize that we can get there. We can become more useful, so to speak. But it starts, step by step, going through first becoming a staff member, and then vow to attain the ultimate way of Buddhahood and transcend reincarnation. Ultimately, okay. So that's, of course, that's the ultimate goal. So once we receive the three treasures, we receive the Tao. Of course, we can transcend, but it is for a limited time. We transcend because we don't have enough merit. We don't. Maybe our virtues aren't perfected yet. So that's why it's a continuous process. Even bodhisattvas are Buddhas are continuously cultivating, and obviously performing merits in performing their vow, carrying out, fulfilling their vows. Okay, so that's something that we should strive for. All right. Okay, in terms of regulations and discipline, right? We should be respectful and sincere in our conduct and actions. Okay, so follow the regulations of each time and place. Of course, no matter where we are in society, outside and in the temple, there are always rules and regulations. So this is propriety. Okay, this is part of propriety, right? The 5 constants. The third one is propriety. So that's something that we follow. We always follow whatever the rules. So it's like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. But that's more about. But anyways, yeah. So we should learn the various the rules, regulations, propriety. So obviously, when we're here in the temple, we need to learn the rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are not just created for just for the sake of having them. They have a purpose, and then maybe, I don't know, in some class, I guess they probably have talk about what they mean, but the idea is that a lot of it is to help us to have that discipline, okay, to practice that discipline, to focus, to be humble, to show respect, all those, right? Follow regulations even when no one is watching. Now, this is very important because we obviously, when we're in public, we may not do things that, either that shameful or embarrassing, and yet when we're by ourselves, maybe we might do some of these things. so that's important that even though the temple rules and regulations are here, that, when we go home, we go anywhere, that we don't then just disregard all of these. I'm not talking about like, the various procedures within the temple, but it's more like the principles that we follow, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that we should apply that in our everyday life, okay? So that's still part of our discipline, practice of our discipline, okay? That we can maintain that discipline wherever we are, okay? That's very important. All right, and then we should be flexible and adaptable, right? But careful in our conduct and dealings based on the situation. Okay, so again, I mentioned that the principles it's kind of general, and we have to know how to apply them properly in each situation, right? Because every situation could be different, is most likely going to be different, and so we have to know how to apply it in each of those situations. Okay. We be flexible and adapt those principles to those situations without violating the principle. Okay, so it's like let's say vegetarian. Okay, so we don't want to eat meat. So here in the temple, that's easy. Of course, we don't serve. it's all vegetarian. But when we go outside, if we're trying to practice vegetarianism, then in some situations you might say, well, you might encounter where there is meat or non-vegetarian stuff that you just can't get pure vegetarian. That's okay. You just don't eat the parts that are, non-vegetarian, right? So if there's meat and there's vegetables on the side, you can eat those vegetables on the side. Or it's more the meat and vegetable aspect is easier, but it gets a little bit harder when it comes to like onion, garlic, those things. Okay, because those things kind of it's like it everywhere, it's in everything. But for me, I mean, of course, if you know that the food has onion, garlic, if you can avoid it, that's great. But if it's because I remember one time I was in an airport, right, getting lunch there, and then they cooked pasta. I told them not to put garlic on it, but you did put garlic on it. And it's when I went to check out, I was like, oh, there's garlic, and then so I sent it back, and they threw it away, and then they made another one. But then later I thought, well, because it was the garlic's like put on top and spread on top. I thought, well, that was a waste. We shouldn't wait because wasting is another thing that we shouldn't do. So then you say, well, there's kind of conflict here. But I thought, well, actually, I should have just kept it and just kind of scrape the garlic off and then eat it, even though there may be a little bit, that's okay. So this is kind of a case where, it's not absolute, right? It's important to realize that these principles aren't absolute, okay? So that we use our wisdom in how we deal with that situation. Just like there's the story of our grand predecessor, and they're in a airplane, right? They're taking a flight somewhere, and of course the grand predecessor there are also other transmitting masters, etc., with him. But when they got their meal, right, it was not vegetarian. Okay, so what happens? All these even these transmitting masters, they weren't sure what to do. They're looking at grand predecessor to see what he's going to do. And so the grand predecessor, there's meat, and then there's like rice and some vegetables. So he just kind of moved away the meat, and he's just eat the rest of it. And so the problem is, so what grand predecessor, he didn't have to think about it, right? So the other people, they weren't sure. They had to think about it. They had to see what he was going to do. And so we have to get to the point where it's very natural. It's, he was just doing something very natural. Just okay, I just won't eat the meat, and I'll eat the rest of it. So that's something that we need to try to get to that level, where it's kind of a natural thing, and we don't have to try to analyze and think too much. Sometimes we think too much in a situation, and it doesn't really solve it. Okay. So again, this maybe it comes from, well, this does come from wisdom, of course. We have to use our wisdom and kind of maybe experience too. Okay, that can, over time we experience these situations, and so so I learned my lesson. So next time I know that okay, I'm not going to waste the food. I'll just do my best to kind of not eat what I shouldn't eat, the parts that I shouldn't eat. Right. Of course, if we knowingly eat something that's not, let's say we made the vegetarian vow, we knowingly eat something that's not vegetarian, then we should repent, okay, do some repentance vows, and hopefully we don't do it again, right?
That's a very good point here. That some people make vegetarian vow because they make a vow. Sometimes they broke the vow because the health issue. So this is very important. We need a lot of merit to offset, because once we broke the vow, okay, we commit. That's why I think that's one transmitter's husband. He was asked our predecessor what to do with her husband, because her husband passed away, but he broke the vow. He made a vegetarian vow, but he broke the vow. Then they asked the predecessor what happened. The predecessor came to the reunion and asked him a question. He said, her husband broke the vow, but do not come to the temple all the time. Do not have enough merit to offset the way he did. So God won't be, unfortunately, God cannot forgive him in this case. So when we make a vow, we need to make sure we keep the vow. Okay, very critical. So that's why I think the lecture title talk about we don't want to by accident you order something they give you externally the certain things, you can take it out, but we don't purposely order the item to eat it. So that's the difference. So we have to be very careful. Then when we make a vow, we need to keep it. And we have to learn certain period, make sure we can keep the vow. We can keep doing that before we make a vow. We don't want to make a vow then try out. No. When we make a vow, very, very critical. So we want to make a vow and keep it.
Yeah.
We have come to talk about what's different is a vow and self-vow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the vow is a commitment, it's a promise, and therefore, yeah, I mean, if we don't intend to keep it, then it makes no sense, okay? Then, you know, it's meaningless. So yeah, it's meant to be kept, and we keep it, right? All right. Okay, so also use of, okay, so in the temple, use of temple funds, okay, clearly indicated it must not be mixed with personal private use. Okay, so every penny that people donate to contribute to the temple is, of course, you know, from the Buddhist point of view, it's infinite merit, okay, it's boundless merit, okay, so, but also the person making that donation, they specify that it's used for use in a certain way, like printing books or doing something, then we have to honor that wish, okay, their intention. So we can't say, oh, I used this money, they indicated it's going to for printing books, but oh, you know, we have enough funds for printing books, we want to use it for something else. We can't do that. Okay, so that's very important. So we have to, you know, so when you specify what it's used for, then we can't change that. Okay. Plus, of course, we don't want to mix, we cannot mix temple, you know, which is essentially public funds with our personal private funds. Okay. And a lot of also transactions, you know, when we do financial transactions, we should not try to mix the two together, right? Because you know, inevitably there'll be mistakes and something will happen in there where it gets mixed up and you get confused. Okay, so again, it's a very, I think, a pretty serious offense to misuse the temple funds, or even if it's accidentally, okay, things like that. So we have to be very careful. All right, and there has to be you know, clear accountability. All right. We have to follow the established system and hierarchy, okay, procedures and regulations. Okay, so this established system and hierarchy, you know, the golden thread. Okay, so the golden thread is because the Tao spread, you know, pretty widely, and so we have our lineage in the Tao. Okay, so it goes from, you know, our introducer, our transmitting master, our our predecessors. Okay. Grand predecessor to our patriarch. Okay, but because there are many different, there are many predecessors. There are many even grand predecessors. There are different groups under the patriarch that we follow the one that we're under. Okay, so our predecessor, right, essentially is we established he established the Fa Yi Tong Yi. That's our branch of this lineage, or our unit. And so this is because we have the affinity to receive the Tao here, or to be in this Tao community, this temple, then that's generally where we would follow. We would stay here, stay with that. Okay, so we shouldn't, the one thing that we should not do is, oh, you know, I'm very curious, I just go to various temples and I participate in their activities. That we should not do. Okay, so ultimately, the idea is that we establish roots in one place, right? Just like your home, you're not constantly moving around, and you have, you know, you have nowhere to really call home anymore. So this is like our home. So we establish home here. Now, of course, depending on the situation, if we move elsewhere, maybe if we don't have a presence at that place, of course, we can always, you know, try to expand our presence in a new location. Okay, that's pioneering the Tao. Okay, that's also very good. But sometimes, you know, out of convenience, we might maybe we go somewhere else. Then we live somewhere else. Then we might, you know, go to attend classes maybe in another temple. Okay, that's possible, but we have to have agreement with the transmitting masters. Okay, they have to make that decision. Okay, we have to always ask our transmitting master if we can do that. All right, and then also on the other side too. Sometimes, some of these temples, they don't accept outsiders. Other, so so that's also the case. All right. So, but the other thing is because other temples, each temple or each different unit, they may have slightly different procedures and regulations. Just like in the propriety, the kato, the bowing, right? It could be different. Okay, so the arrival and departure should be the same across all the units, but like maybe the class, the start of class, end of class, that propriety, the bowing procedure could be different. Okay, their morning and evening offering incense, that procedure could be different. So they also might have different procedures. So that's why we tend to, because so we learn our own, and then so we know that, we stick with that. All right. Okay, everyone knows that what their role and responsibilities are. So as a staff member, we should know, basically anything that needs to be done. Okay, we can take initiative and know that, if the floor is dirty, I can go clean it if I see that. So we should also try to develop our awareness more, and it's not like I see something, there's something that needs to be done that's very obvious and we just ignore it. Okay, so we should definitely do it. All right, take action. So because when we do it, then it's our merit. I mean, we're performing some task that we should do. All right. So don't leave it to others to get that merit. I mean, when we can get that merit ourselves. Of course, we're not trying to think, oh, I want to gain more merit, but it's just just to remind us that we should do whatever needs to be done when we see it. Okay, when we notice. All right. Okay. So personal matters also must not be mixed with temple and Tao matters. Okay. So obviously, when we come to the temple, it's not to talk about personal business or private businesses, dealing business transactions. That should definitely not be done in the temple. Okay, so again, we're here to learn about the temple rules and regulations and the principles here. All right, so these are things that got to keep in mind. All right. All right. Okay. So as part of that, there's these three, what we call last week we called it the three purities, but I call it the three distinctions. Okay. The clear distinction between the holy and public matters or personal and private matters. All right. Again, there's a clear separation here. We don't want to get it mixed together. Okay, don't bring personal business to the temple or mix with temple business. Okay, so I just mentioned that. Have a clear distinction between male and female. Okay, so again, a temple is not. We're not having a social gathering here. Okay, maybe in church, it's kind of like become a social place, social gathering, but that's really not what this is about. Okay, so and so you see that when we perform, the proprieties, things like that, it's usually separate, male and female, that's separated. All right. Then this is actually not unusual in religious practice. In Islam, it's a separation as well, and maybe in other religions. Okay. Okay. Clear distinction in financial matters. Okay, I mentioned that earlier. Of course, we cannot mix our personal stuff with the temple finances. Okay. All right. That's very important. And then there's also the other half of that is this, what we call the four proper conducts. Okay, so proper conduct of the body, right? We abide, we follow the precepts like the 5 precepts and others. Okay, so we basically we are kind, we are merciful in our treatment of others. We have to be tolerant and forgiving in all matters, and we also follow affinity means basically we don't force things. Okay, so we kind of follow the you can say what I quote unquote the natural path or the natural flow, the natural way of things. Okay, so definitely not a lot of things shouldn't be forced. all right? Proper conduct of the heart and mind, okay, basically is to get rid of the three poisons, right? Greed, rage, delusion, or ignorance, okay? So these we've talked about in the past. Proper conduct of speech, okay? We don't talk nonsense, crazy talk, double talk or double tongue, flattery, right? Harmful words, of course. So these are things we have to be careful of. Sometimes we might say things that might offend someone without us realizing it. So this is something that we need to be aware of, because some things may be cultural, right? Cultural, due to cultural differences, that maybe in one culture you say something that seems, that wouldn't be offensive, but it may be offensive to someone else. So, we should definitely think before we talk, all right? Be careful, all right? Proper conduct in our actions, okay? Again, being reasonable and following the proper human relationships and eight virtues, okay? So, the 5 cardinal relationships, right, that Confucius talks about, the relationships between husband and wife, parents and children, among siblings or elders and youngers, and among friends, and also like between like an employer and employee type of situation. Okay, so those are the things that we need to keep in mind, that to conduct ourselves properly in whatever situation or role that we might be in at the time. Okay, so and always be reasonable. Especially we should not be stubborn. Okay, it's like, oh, this is the way I want to do it, or we have to be flexible to adapt. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So we should conduct ourselves as examples of the greatness of Tao, right? Our heart, mind, words, conduct, and actions all should be sincere and consistent. All right. So again, as a staff member, we are definitely, we should be like a role model, okay? An example for others. Okay. So maybe a regular, just a person who just received the Tao Kin, okay? Because they may not know a lot of the things, okay, what's proper or not. We can't really expect them to be a role model necessarily. But once we are a staff member, we should definitely understand and know what's proper and not proper, and so that we are essentially, we represent the Tao. Okay, we represent the Tao. We represent the temple. Okay, so therefore, if we do things or say things that are improper, then that reflects badly not just on us, but on the Tao and on the temple. Okay, so that's definitely counterproductive. So we definitely want to follow the rules and know the principles and behave accordingly, so that we show that the Tao, through us, okay, through our actions, through our words, that the Tao is viewed positively by others. Okay, so that's very important. If we want to spread the Tao, if we want to propagate the Tao, right? We cannot, we can say all the good things. Wow, Tao is great and all that. But if we don't behave, we don't conduct ourselves properly, then the people that we're talking to, they're going to see that and they say, well, then you're just a hypocrite, and this Tao is nothing, right? So we don't want to get into that situation. So obviously, again, we have to conduct ourselves properly so that people can see it. They can sense that we are, this Tao is good. We don't even have to say anything. Okay, so all right, so that's important. All right, so, and then of course there's the 4 don'ts, right? There's the, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, do no evil. Okay, so anything that's not proper, that we should not see, hear, speak, or do, we should not do. Okay, we should not get involved in. Okay, of course I would add think no evil to that. So it's the 5 don'ts. All right, yeah, because everything starts from our mind. So maybe we don't do all these other things, but if in our mind we're still thinking those things, then that's not right. Okay, so it all starts.
What did the recording angel said last May? He's always next to us, reporting recording down
Our
whatever
thoughts.
we think, right? Whatever we talk. He recorded down.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So again, especially because we think no one can hear us thinking, right? So we can think whatever we want. Well, it's just, it's not true. Our Buddha nature knows, and so that's recorded. It's all recorded. Okay. All right. So in cultivation, we should be sincere, right? Have sincere intentions and upright heart. Okay. So we don't cheat ourselves. Okay. We all have that Buddha. There's a Buddha inside each of us. Okay. If we're doing something against our conscience, against our true nature, then we're cheating that Buddha. We're defrauding the Buddha. Okay. So to cultivate Tao is to cultivate our human heart and mind, conduct Tao matters to our utmost ability. Basically, we are trying to, when we cultivate, right, we say we cultivate the Tao, we're trying to get our human heart and mind in line with our Buddha heart and mind. Okay, so become like a Buddha heart and mind. Okay, so that is the part that we're cultivating, trying to get it to match that Buddha, our true nature, our Buddha nature. And we should always put in our utmost ability. Okay, so that is that sincerity that Confucius talks about, right? In the five constants, sincerity or faith is in the center, is the core of everything. So I interpret that that as people translate it as faith, but I interpret it as true sincerity. It's that showing that true nature, that true self. Okay, all right. Oh, okay. But all right. And then to cultivate, let's see. Oh, okay. So do not keep the good or bad experiences, matters in the heart. Okay, forget. So essentially, no one's perfect. Okay, and we're always going to encounter situations where we get a bad experience, or someone says something we don't like. We should always try to forgive and forget. Okay. Also, not just for bad things, but good things as well. So we did something good, we should forget about it either as well. If we keep it in mind, that's basically it's kind of we're attached to that form. Okay, so then that reduces the merit essentially. All right.
Also creates karma.
Well, yeah.
When we do good things, naturally we do it. We remember they become fortune for us. Because one day those fortune, what we did, we donate anything, will come back to us. This lifetime or future life. If we don't remember, those will become our virtues. Okay? Virtue will be unlimited return. You don't even know. Okay, so that's important. So that's like a Buddha. They love us unconditionally. Like a parent love children unconditionally. That's a Buddha love. We need to do this.
So how about if somebody becomes really with opportunity for the life, the healthy, for the so we can share this yes, like if they are standing, they start the mission, the whole family lost about 200 pounds. So can we share this information with other people?
Yeah, can we do that after the next class? Yeah, right? Next class.
Okay. Okay.
Share some.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And then no matter what happens, right? Whether they're good things, bad things, whether it's a big deal or a small little thing, we always try to make a situation better. Okay. So whatever the situation is, something, someone made a mistake. We don't try to there's several ways to deal with the situation. You can deal with it in a way that you could get angry and yell at the person, but that doesn't help things. We always try to make do things, be merciful, kind, and say guide the person, say point things out, and then say it could be done better. And any time there's maybe conflict, we see conflict, we want to try to resolve that conflict in a harmonious, peaceful way. All right. And ultimately, after any time things happen, after it's done, we let it go. Okay, don't keep it in, constantly have it in our heart and mind. right? Let's say something, someone said something bad to us, and it's still in our mind constantly. We need to let it go. All right, so that's very important. Okay. Okay, so this is something that we want to aspire to be. What Confucius says is a superior person. Okay, so we want to be gentle, warm, kind and honest, respectful and humble, thrifty and simple, yielding and modest. So these are kind of characteristics, fine aspects of a superior person that we want to try to become. So obviously, it's not strength. This is true strength is not strength in physical strength or being I can yell louder or all that, right? It's really, if you look at it, these are kind of like soft and harmonious type of characteristics. Okay, so that is really the way that we should be, right? Okay. Let's see. Okay. There's the next thing is this is part of there's reporting to seniors. Okay, this is one part of this thing that says anytime, I mean, there's always like I don't want to necessarily say like a hierarchy, but there are always those who come before us. Okay, and we call them the seniors. Okay, and those who have been in, whether they're transmitting masters, lecturers, temple masters, or other members who have been in the Tao longer. Okay. All right. So in the temple, right, there are always those. All right. Yeah. Who come before us, right? Those who we call the seniors. Okay. Well, in Chinese we say Chenshen, but basically those who are been in the Tao longer, and supposedly they're supposed to know more. Okay. So. But especially those above us, like the transmitting masters or maybe lecturers. Okay, but anyways, we have kind of our position or status in the temple. I mean, everyone is equal, but when we have like a staff position or some kind of position, then obviously there's a differentiation there in our duties, things like that. So according to when we're a staff member, that's kind of like at the beginning we're assigned tasks to perform in temple, or of course we can always take the initiative, as I said earlier, to do things, right? But we usually, when we trying to do something maybe that's a little bit bigger, then we have to ask the seniors for permission and instructions before doing something, and then we report back when it's done. Or maybe if they assign us to do something, then we should always, after we're done, we should report back, okay, that we did it. Again, being sensible and reasonable. Okay, I mentioned this earlier. So basically the truth of Tao, the principles, and heaven's mandate, okay, is to be held in respect and can attest to the holy matter. So this is there are a lot of you can say the testimony of the Tao and the principles and the heaven's mandate is true. Okay, so there are many testimonies from whether it's staff members or Tao kin or anyone who, through their experiences in conducting, practicing the Tao, that they've experienced, that they said, wow, it's definitely to show the individual that this Tao is true. Okay, and again, the Tao is something that we have to experience over time through our cultivation, through our practice, and the propagation of the Tao. We should always try to say positive words, encouraging words. Okay, heaven, the Buddhas, they're always positive. Okay, they always give positive advice, positive guidance to us, and so we should do the same. When we're, don't underestimate the effect of positive speech, positive things, because that can really transform or help guide things in a positive direction. All right, so we shouldn't be negative about things. Say, oh, don't do that. This is bad. Whatever. We should try to turn it around. There's always kind of, you can say, two sides or two ways of saying things. One is kind of a negative side, one is a positive side. So we should always try to choose the positive way of saying things as encouragement. Usually the negative is kind of, it kind of dampens or restricts the one's improvement and growth. So, or it might give someone discouragement. So we don't want to do that. All right. Okay. And then there are 9 what we call these 9 considerations. Okay. So we should see things clearly. So when we see things, that doesn't mean that, you need to wear glasses to see something, whatever. But to be aware, okay, when we see things, that we understand what we've seen, okay. Same thing, with hearing, okay. So when we hear instructions or anything, teachings, make sure we hear it clearly, understand it clearly, all right. Make sure we're always, try to be friendly, kind to people, others, right. Make sure we are respectful in our manner and demeanor, okay. And so, just general, it could be just, general, our mannerisms, things like that, all right. We should be faithful and trustful in our words. So, anything that we say will be, we should be held accountable for what we say. So, so we shouldn't just say things, without thinking and or make promises that we can't keep. Okay, so then we have to be trustworthy. Make sure we do things with seriousness. All right, so things are, if we're assigned a task, let's say we want to clean up the floor, we should do it, take it seriously. It's not like, just a thing that you just want to get done and then leave and do something else. But anything that we do, again, this is kind of like that showing our true sincerity. When we do it from the heart. Okay, anything, even a small task. All right. Make sure when we have questions or we have doubts, we can always ask. We should always ask. Okay. And then also make sure we think of the consequences, especially when we get angry. Right. So obviously we don't want to get angry, but if we do get angry, we should definitely pause, take a break, or take some breaths, and say, think of the consequences of what we're going to say or what we're going to do. All right, because a lot of times, well, especially we're going to create karma, create bad karma, and so we have to be careful. All right, make sure that we can gain that. Any benefit that we can gain comes from righteous or proper means, okay, so that we're not gaining at, things illegally or done improperly, right? So that's very important, right? So, in society we see a lot of things where people gain a lot of stuff, whether it's wealth or power, but they do it through questionable means and maybe even illegal means. So this is something that, if it's proper, then we can do it. If it's not proper, we should not get it, okay? Okay, so now this is the other half of the other thing, the guiding the juniors. So from the other one was kind of the bottom up, and then this is the top down kind of relationship. So when those are our seniors, how to guide the new people, all right? So of course we have to be kind and merciful in guiding them, all right? So, just like, okay, so we respect and follow the instructions from the seniors, but we also need to lead and guide and help the juniors, okay? So we actually, it's not like, when you're a junior, and then you're a senior is a senior, but we're both actually, okay? Because there's always those who are before us and those who are after us, okay? So we're always in both, we have both two roles. All right, so we have to understand both. All right, so we follow the proper protocol for reporting to seniors and guiding the juniors so that everyone knows what's going on. All right, so communication is very important. If we don't communicate properly, people don't understand it. People don't know. Maybe the things are done, mistakes are done, or do the wrong things. So we have to be clear in our communications. And let's see. We have to know the proper etiquette and protocol and know what to do and everything. So a lot of obviously in the proprieties in the ceremonies or rituals, right? There's certain procedures that we have to know. Those are more specific. But in general, just like when we come to the temple, usually well, it should be there's someone to like offer the towel, right? To wipe your hands, and then to then you do the arrival procedure, things like that. Okay, so those are all little things. And also, well, in the English class, less so, but in a more formal setting, there's always someone to bring like the water, the cup, and the towel for the speaker, things like that. So these are all little things that, as part of all the overall temple rules and regulations, procedures, etc., that we should learn. Okay, so I mean, we learned that in the Dharma class, but probably because people don't maybe get a chance to practice it, so they forget. But there are a lot of these things that hopefully when you're in the temple a lot, then you'll pick up on these things. And especially as a staff member, we have to know these. All right. Okay. So we want to elevate the virtuous and yield to those who have the ability. Okay. So don't think that I know a lot, so everyone has to listen to my ideas and listen to me. Those who have the virtue, I mean, we know, it's not people who are kind of arrogant. They say, oh yeah, I know all this, and so we listen to them. No, we should always follow the virtuous. Those who have the ability to do something, yeah, we can always let them, take the lead, and listen to their ideas, follow their ideas. We can't try to yield to that. All right, so we don't want to. Especially, we don't want to create any kind of conflict. We always try to be in harmony. So, all right, and then give credit to others while taking the blame for wrongdoing. Okay, so this is maybe hard to do. Sometimes we do things and then we want to claim credit. Say, oh yeah, I did that. I did that good thing. But at the same time, sometimes when we did something wrong, we don't want to accept the blame either. So it should be the opposite. When someone does something, maybe they made a mistake, we should, this is showing our true virtue, is we can accept the blame for someone else's mistake. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people is very difficult to do. All right. But if we can do that, right, that can resolve a lot of conflict and problems. All right. And so then that's, that was one of the earlier points, is that we want to reduce any, large matter into a smaller matter into nothing. And that's one way to do that. And also giving credit to others as well. Okay, so the other people on the other receiving end of that, whether they were the one who made a mistake or they're getting this credit that you're giving them, it'll affect them in a good way. They'll feel, maybe they'll self-reflect and also follow your, this way as well. Do the good thing. All right. So once we know what should be done and how, then when we see that something should be done, we should take responsibility and do it before being told. Okay. So this I mentioned earlier, that when we see, so that's why it's kind of important that we know what needs to be done. All right. So we know our duties. We know what needs to be done in the temple, then we'll automatically do it. Don't wait for someone to, when we see something that needs to be done, someone has to tell us to do it. Okay, we just do it automatically. Okay, that's the ideal, right? And of course, but some things we should ask the seniors or transmitting master whether something that should be done. Okay, sometimes for depending on what it is. Okay. All right. Okay. Having the proper, we should always have proper mindset and attitude. Right. We should always respect the instructions of the transmitting masters, or they have this heavenly mandate. Okay. Now I'm not saying that they're always right. They may do something, say something that's not entirely right. So we have to always use our wisdom ultimately to understand what we're being asked to do. Okay. hold and respect those who came before us. Of course, the Buddhas, saints, sages, patriarchs, predecessors, virtuous worthies. They came before us and they've essentially succeeded, okay, on this path. And so we should definitely learn from them, respect them, and follow them, okay? All right. So that's what, anything that we learn here is from all those who came before, all right? We must hold and respect the words and teachings of the Buddhas, saints, and sages, of course. All this, whether it's the dharmas, the scriptures, those are, holy, okay? Those are, we should not treat them lightly, all right? Hold them with respect. All right, so especially when we're reading scriptures, we should, don't do it in the bathroom. We don't, just keep that in mind. Just being respectful. As followers and disciples, we must hold the teachings and seniors in respect. Okay. Without them, it would be difficult to cultivate the proper path to become enlightened. Again, because we're all learning. We're still learning. We depend on those who know more, who come before us, have more experience to guide and lead us. All right. So, all right. Okay, so, in treating people, how we treat people, of course, we should be warm-hearted and eager, but we should, of course, still be humble. If we come across as being arrogant, people, they know that, and they're not going to listen to us, okay? So when everybody has their own ideas about doing something, then we should yield to the other's idea, or nothing will be done, or won't be done properly, okay? So, in other words, be able to compromise. Now, because everyone maybe has their view of what's right, or but you can say it's all relative. All right, it can be all relative, and so yeah, maybe this person has their idea is right in a certain way, and then you have an idea that's right in a different way. So it's hard to say which one's more right. Okay, so we need to compromise as long as it's not going against some kind of principle, okay? All right, so again, we have to keep those principles in mind when we are, making these decisions, deciding, etc. So always follow those principles, those true principles, all right? Okay, so we must practice the 8 virtues in conducting all matters, but we should not follow sentiments. Okay, sentiment meaning following, let's say I like this person, so I always follow this person, or I listen to what this person has to say all the time. I follow that. That's following the person, okay? It's we shouldn't follow the person. If the person, even though they may be, remember the golden thread, right? Our introducer, our transmitting master, etc. We should follow them as long as they are proper. If they decided to go the wrong way, right, to take a different path, then if they're not following the principles, then we should not go follow with that, okay? So we have to, again, that's why this learning these principles is very important, that we know to be able to stand on our own, to know when to follow, when we shouldn't follow. So sometimes, maybe our introducer, they brought us to this temple, but then they left the temple, they go to some other place, another temple, or maybe they go back to, wherever. Should we follow them? So that's something that we need to be clear in our mind, okay? Practice, okay, yeah, all right. Okay, so every day we should self-reflect. So this is Zhenzi, right, the Confucius disciple. He has these 3 self-reflections every day, right? Have I been loyal and faithful in my duties and responsibilities? Anything I do, all right? Have I been sincere and trustworthy to my friends? Have I practiced what I have learned? Okay, so that's that's important that we don't learn. This isn't like in school. We learn a lot of things that we may not put into practice or make use of. But here, everything that we learn here can be put into practice, and it's very important that we do, because ultimately, to become enlightened or to attain Buddhahood or etc. sainthood, we have to put these things into practice. Okay, that's the important thing. All right. But again, being sincere, being loyal, faithful in everything we do. All right. So being true to ourselves, being true to our true self. All right. Okay. In the home and family, right? So even though we're talking about a lot of principles, sometimes when we bring up principles in a situation at home, then that can create conflict. Okay, so we have to be careful there. We always try to have harmony, peace in the home, right? It's not necessarily who's right, who's wrong. Again, like in terms of those 8 virtues, so like filial piety or those relationships between parent and children, usually the children should always yield to the parent. Now the parents may sometimes be wrong, that's true, but we always try to create that harmony in the family. Okay, don't try to create any conflict. So we should still, say if someone is wrong, yeah, we can discuss it and try to, again, using what we talked about previously, try to turn it into something positive. All right. Okay. So let's see. When a situation arises, okay, we deal with it as appropriately and as needed. Okay. If there's nothing, then we don't make something out of it. Okay. So a lot of times, a lot of problems, conflicts arise out of nothing. Okay. So that's the Buddha says when you create something out of nothing, there's lack of wisdom. There's no wisdom there. So we definitely don't want to take something, a little trifling matter, and make it something really big. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Right. So again, we want to take any kind of matter and then kind of make it smaller and kind of get rid of it completely. So that's something to keep in mind. Anytime, unfortunately, so that's why we have to keep our emotions in check. Okay, so because our emotions tend to get in the way, and then we start doing things, and then that just adds fuel to the fire, and make things worse. Okay, so have a clear mind, always try to be reasonable. Okay, so when we follow these relationships in home, and then when the parents treat the children with love and children treat their parents with filial piety, there are rules in each family and home. Then the home, family will be harmonious and successful. Okay, so that's, Confucius, that's why he emphasizes these teachings because his goal is to create this harmonious society, but it starts in the home, all right, in the family. When husband and wife know their duties and love and respect each other, then we'll create a harmonious home family worthy of others' admiration. When we know and maintain the natural order of elders to youth, every person in the family all work towards the goal. Then we bring honor to our ancestors' virtues. Okay. So again, these are all kind of in the home, the relationships within the family members that the key to creating a harmonious and peaceful society starts in the home, because the home, in the family, that is a microcosm of the whole society. So it starts there. All right. Conclusion. All right. So staff members are devoted to the responsibilities of the shared mission between Buddhas and humans. Okay. So it's the Buddha's mission to save, this universal salvation, to save all sentient beings. But of course, we here in this world, we're physical living beings, must take on that that duty to help make it happen. Okay. So this holy transmission, the transmission and propagation of Tao, is like the light that eliminates the darkness, the wisdom that breaks through ignorance. Okay, so from receiving the Tao through the practicing, the cultivation, the propagation of Tao, it's like this light that we just switch on this light, and this darkness that's been here for thousands of years is gone. Okay, so that's how the world of unity, of harmony that Confucius envisioned thousands of years ago, and that's the way that it will come about. And through Maitreya, the Buddha's vows, that they want to make it happen. It's through us, through us Tao cultivators, to make that happen. Okay, we have the right affinity to be the angels of the white era, to help in this great mission of the universal salvation of 3 realms. Okay, so. We are in the right place at the right time. We have that affinity from our past lives to be in this situation where we can help, okay, we are helpers. We are the angels in this period to help bring about this world harmony, this world peace, okay. So it's it's a great responsibility. But everyone does their part, and we can make it happen. From being lost to becoming awakened, right? Now our enlightened conduct and actions bring satisfactory results. We should not be confused about our purpose and our mission. Okay, so this is kind of the next step from after receiving the Tao. Then we know what our purpose is to help all sentient beings. So becoming a staff member is kind of the next step up to get to accomplish our purpose and our mission. All right. Well, so Holy Teacher had this to say. I mean, he has this 9 golden medicinal pellets. I don't know. That's the direct translation. But the 3 things we don't leave, right? The Tao community or the temple, the predecessors and seniors, and the scriptures. Okay, so again, remember our golden thread, right? We generally don't leave the golden thread. Okay, so this is kind of part of that. The Tao community. This is the place, the temple, where we can learn. We can learn the truth. We can learn and to be able to practice things here. Okay, our predecessors and seniors, of course, those who came before us that we can follow. They can guide us, and of course the scriptures. Now. Scriptures, of course, we follow like the ancient scriptures, but we use the ancient scriptures and classics of the sages. But there's also, of course, because in the Tao we have the channeling, and so through that we can have all these new scriptures. But we have to be careful too. There's a lot of, on the internet you can find all sorts of stuff. Okay, so we should be careful, use our wisdom in knowing what's right, and so because some of these, some people they put up a lot of stuff, but it may not be the real true scriptures. Okay, so again, we generally try to stick to what's let's say what our seniors tell us that we can read and things like that. Okay, so because some of the stuff may not necessarily be true. Okay, all right. The 3 things that we should not cause us to stop cultivating. Okay, this is very important. Misfortune and illness. Okay, so who doesn't encounter misfortune and illness in their lifetime? Yeah, we encounter a lot of that. But we know, as long as we know that this Tao, this path is true, we should still continue on this path no matter how difficult it becomes for us. Whatever hardships we encounter along the way. It's a test of your faith, right? So that faith, and I don't mean blind faith, okay? So as long we know inside that this is the true way, then we should always follow it, okay? And also when we have fame and wealth, which is on the other end of things, when with great fortune, right? That is also for some people. They say, "Wow, I have everything I want now in this world. I don't need anything else." Okay, so. I don't need this cultivation. Why should I cultivate? That's also the kind of the other extreme. All right, so we have to be careful of that. That doesn't, because that can lead to greed and other things. Okay, so that again we have to be careful. And then also people matters. Yeah, so we encounter people we don't like. They're very annoying. Or whatever. We shouldn't let that stop us. Okay, because ultimately cultivation is for ourselves. Okay. So if we let someone else stop, cause us not to cultivate, then who loses? We lose, okay? Right? We don't achieve Buddhahood. We can't attain enlightenment. But so ultimately, we shouldn't let these external factors affect us, okay? So no matter what happens around us, we know we have that determination to do what we need to do, all right? 3 things not to forget are Buddha heart or Buddha mind, okay, our true nature, our golden thread, as I mentioned, and our vows, okay. The vows that we make, we should not forget. We should always. So if you've attended the Dharma class, then you've probably made 2 vows, and so always remember that, and that we need to fulfill our vows. If we can't fulfill our vows, then we cannot, attain enlightenment. We cannot transcend. Ultimately, we still have to come back to fulfill our vows, okay. Okay, so yeah, just remember that, we always have that Buddha nature within us. It's manifested as our conscience. Listen to our conscience. All right? Okay. So, do we have the mindset, attitude, cultivation to be heaven's helper? So, that is the question you have to ask yourself. Is this something that's worthy, something that you can do, that you want to do? And so, do we have all the proper attitude, the mindset, and the cultivation to be able to perform it? It's it's not like you have to jump really high to a high level to say, I can't achieve that. But we take things step by step, right? So it's not, we're not asking you to do all sorts of things that you can't do, right? Again, everything according to your ability. Of course, we want to encourage you to learn more, to be able to push yourself. Right? We don't want to be in a position where we're trying to push you. We have to push ourselves, motivate ourselves to work harder, to try harder, to learn and to do. Okay, that's because anything that we do is ours. Okay, so anything that we can achieve, that's ours, right? If we have to depend on other people to push us, then it's not completely ours, right? So ultimately, our effort that we put in is what we get out of it, right? And heaven will also help us when we are sincere and we try to push ourselves. Okay, heaven will be, the Buddhas are behind us and they're helping us, right? Okay, so that's basically all I had to say. I don't know if there's there were some things that you wanted some discussion or. Well, okay. Well, actually, there's a question about going to church and the Tao and the temple. Okay, so the Tao is not religion. Okay, so even though we come to the temple, okay, that seems like going to church, but what we teach is the principles, the true principles, okay, based on true principles. Again, I mentioned earlier that it's not dogma, okay. Of course, the principles, ultimately, we have to realize that those are the truth. It is the truth, okay. I mean, we can say, oh, this is the truth, this is the truth, but unless you realize it yourself, maybe you don't believe it. So, but we can do it. First, there's trust, of course, a little bit of faith, okay. So in any religion, there's faith, right? But what I'm talking about is true faith, is that faith can be enhanced through our own experiences, through our own understanding, right? Through our own realization. So that's very important. Now, so what we're teaching here, is based on, again, all the scriptures from the teachings of the sages, the Buddhas, saints, including Jesus. They were all teaching about the truth. It's just that when it becomes religion then is, you can say, well, it becomes dogma, okay, when whether it's an institution, the church, says, this is the word of God, that you have to follow it to the letter, then, that's when we should have some questions, okay, about whether it's exactly as it says. Unfortunately, the teachings, any kind of dharma, any kind of teaching is what we call a skillful mean or convenient means, okay? We cannot use words to describe that truth in the absolute way. And therefore, there are many ways to talk about the truth, all right? So that's why Jesus talks about certain things, Buddha talks about certain things. They're all talking about the same thing, but on the surface, maybe it looks a little bit different. But that's because there is no one word or one way to talk about the truth, okay? Unfortunately, that's the limitation of language. And so that's something that we have to understand. And then, so coming to, when we go to church, we listen to the sermons, but, in the temple, it's more than just that, okay? So we have to get a true understanding, all right? It's not just following certain commandments, certain rules. Okay, we have to understand what we're doing and ultimately get in touch and understand our own true nature. Okay, so maybe in religious teachings they don't really talk about that so much. Well, in Buddhism it's more they do a lot in detail, but in some other religious teachings they don't really talk about that. They just say, oh, just follow these rules and be a good person. Okay, so that's kind of on the surface only. That's surface, superficial. But we have to, in our heart and mind, we have to change our heart and mind and follow that, and ultimately understand that that's our true nature inside. Well, God can guide us. Okay, so yeah.
Can I add one point here? One Buddha nature class lecture, they will talk about it. When normal people, no matter how wealthy, how popular we are in society, we pass away one day. We have to go one day, right? After 7 hours, 10 hours, the body becomes rigid. Okay? So only whoever received Tao will open the front gate, the front door, for our spirit to come out. At that moment, our body going to be flexible. So if the spirit come out from the side door, then the body will be rigid. So that's very critical. Just the God give us a little small witness. Just let us know this is going to happen. If whoever receives it down, going to have the body going to be flexible after one day we have to leave the world. And the other thing, come back to the receiving down. If we don't do good things, the Holy Teacher mentioned, our Holy Teacher, in previous lives, we have done so many good things. We could be in religions, we could be in non-profit organizations already in previous life. That's why we do so many good things in previous lives. That's why this lifetime we have the opportunity to receive that. Without doing that in previous life, we wouldn't be here to receive that. So that's why the Holy Teacher told us face to face on those kind of situations. Yeah, so we have done already our share already. So, but even look at the lecture title. Before 2,000 plus years ago, all the religion leaders, what do they base on before that? Because religion came out 2,000 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But what happened before 2,000 years ago, right? They based on the Tao. So they based on the Tao, all those religion leaders come out with each religion for people to follow. But before that, there's a Tao was there. Okay, thank you.
Well, what I want to say is that, that what Pai was addressing that issue really, it can be further analyzed or, talked about in more detail about the difference between Tao and religion, right? Okay, that's another topic. I think we had a topic, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. I mean, that was a separate, I think that's also a topic. Is that a topic in Dharma class? I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's right, Dharma recently, yeah. So you got to understand that, right? Okay, so that, I mean, it's not wrong to go to a church. That's not wrong, but understand there's a difference. Really, the Tao that we're talking about is what Buddha called the Anattara Sanya Sambodhi, right? Okay, that's the highest, unsurpassed Dharma or teaching. Religion is all below that. Okay, really, it's all below that. All right, so that's the difference. I mean, that's we want to go to the highest level. That's really so. That's what we want. And also, religion teaches us to, it's based from a book, yeah, the Bible, the Quran, whatever. Really, the Tao is not based. Yes, we talk about all these scriptures. Really, it's not in